Frequency, Chapter 10, Part 2. I've got a report to the captain for today's assignment, Flash told her, pressing his cheek to hers. You want me to go with you, though? She rolled her eyes, but pressed back with a smile.
I'm a big Philly, but you go do your jerk thing.
He chuckled and saluted with a lopsided smile, before heading for a side door. Alright, see you later. She watched him go, her eyes set upon his flank. She had to admit that she'd netted a real prize in that one. Now, if only he'd do a little more than just nuzzle on her ear every now and then. It was a long walk to the astronomy tower. The castle hadn't yet shut down for the evening, and Vinyl often found herself having to dodge important-looking ponies going to and fro in the great halls. Vinyl plugged her earbuds in and listened to the latest rendition of her new songs as she walked, if only to serve as a distraction from her thoughts. She was relieved when she passed through the business end of the castle and into the less public areas. Here, things were quieter, and she didn't have to suffer the haughty looks of ponies who thought she didn't deserve to be there. At last, Vinyl reached the stairs leading into the tower. Months of climbing those stairs had given her some extra strength in her legs, so now, the journey wasn't half as tiring. Even so, this time she climbed the steps slowly. Even the incomplete music in her ears wasn't enough to distract her from her worries now. The stairs had enough room for 3 ponies to climb side by side, and yet tonight, the spiraling passage felt claustrophobic. Images of Twilight's concerned, focused face kept flitting through Vinyl's mind. If she kept chewing her lip like this, she'd start bleeding. Every hoofstep felt heavier than the last. But Vinyl knew she had to face whatever bad news was coming her way. For by now, she felt certain that bad news was coming.
Oh, Miss Scratch, do come in.
Vinyl paused at the door. Celestia sat upon a large velvet cushion before the usual table that held the small fancy radio. Luna and Twilight were also there, forming a triangle about the table. There was space left only for one. Her ears flat against her skull, Vinyl pulled out her earbuds and approached.
3 princesses for a single meeting?
Her heart sank even lower.
Is everything all right?
Luna asked, as Vinyl took her place at the table. Vinyl looked to Luna, then to Celestia. They both held blank expressions, like they were prepared for a meeting with foreign dignitaries rather than some DJ. Her gaze went to Twilight, who was trying her hardest to imitate the manner of her peers. A valiant effort, but the concern in her eyes gave her away.
You tell me,
she said, gesturing to Twilight.
You found something bad, didn't you?
Twilight flinched, a tiny motion, but still noticeable.
I think we'd better get Addie on before we start. Yeah.
Vinyl shrank in her cushion, her head dropped below her shoulders. There seemed to be a lead weight in her belly. She reached forward, but couldn't make her hoof touch the radio.
Vinyl.
Celestia's wing reached over to brush Vinyl's shoulder.
Whatever may come of this meeting, remember that you are Miss Longstaff's friend. She will need you to be strong.
Vinyl stared at her with her lip trembling.
Is it really that bad? It's...
Twilight hesitated, but at Vinyl's worried look, she said.
It might not be. We can't be certain, though. That's not very helpful.
Vinyl replied, her voice almost a whimper.
Vinyl.
She looked to Princess Luna, who wore a warm smile.
This isn't a time for worrying. I believe that you will shine brightly today. For yourself, and for Addie.
At first, Vinyl was perplexed. Yet as she gazed into those bright cyan eyes, a sense of clarity came over her. Her thoughts drifted to her father, and how important a mere voice on a radio had been to him. Now more than ever, Vinyl needed to be that voice. The thought gave her a renewed courage. She reached over and pressed a button atop the little white radio. Silence filled the room as they waited. After a while, Vinyl leaned over the table.
Addie? You there?
Seconds passed, and then the radio came to life. Addie's voice sounded dull through the speaker.
I'm here.
Vinyl cocked her head.
You sound tired.
Addie gave a long yawn.
There was a problem with one of the solar cells, so I had to do a brief spacewalk. I'm beat, and my stomach still hasn't stopped rolling around in my gut.
I see. I think.
Vinyl hesitated.
I'm here with Twilight, Luna, and Celestia.
3 princesses? Aren't we popular today?
A brief pause.
So, what's the special occasion?
Vinyl sat back with a shrug and looked to Twilight.
Good question. They haven't told me yet.
Addie's tone was deadpan.
Well, that's not very nice of them.
Celestia leaned forward just slightly.
Are you feeling well, Miss Longstaff?
I'm fine, princess.
Addie emitted another yawn.
I'm just really missing coffee right now.
Vinyl blinked.
You actually have coffee? Like, caffeinated black stuff?
And you know what coffee is.
Addie chuckled.
Will the similarities never end?
Luna spoke, her tone firm.
Miss Longstaff, I am afraid we have some very important news to convey to you.
Silence. The air suddenly seemed thick with uncertainty. Vinyl shifted and glanced at Celestia, then at Luna. But neither of them betrayed any emotion other than solemnity. She looked across the table to find Twilight fidgeting. When Addie next spoke, she had lost her drawl tone.
You have my attention?
All eyes turned to Twilight, who shrank back. She chewed her lip and strained herself with a calming breath.
Addie, Twilight. As you know, I've been doing a lot of research and tests about Equestria's upper atmosphere.
Addie said nothing. Twilight's ears lowered, but after a moment she pressed on.
We need to go over the specifications of your ship again, just to be sure. But if my calculations are correct, well, there might be a problem. Stop beating around the bush.
Addie's tone had been harsh, but Vinyl detected the tremble in her voice. Twilight flinched and glanced to Celestia, who nodded. She rubbed her foreheads together as she continued.
Earth and Equestria have very similar atmospheres, and if you were here, you could almost certainly survive in our world. But there are certain differences in composition and density, especially in the upper atmosphere. Simply put, there's a higher friction in the outer layers.
Vinyl cocked her head.
I have no idea what that means.
It means...
Twilight averted her gaze.
It means that... How do I put it?
What it means.
Addie said, her voice quiet.
The journey won't be able to survive re-entry. It means I'll burn up and die if I try.
Not necessarily.
Twilight hurriedly added.
The differences aren't huge. The ship might be able to take it. We need to go over the specifications again. We've gone over them countless times.
Addie whispered.
One more isn't going to change the results.
Twilight faltered, her lips moving soundlessly. Her eyes darted about as she struggled for some kind of argument. Celestia leaned forward, a hopeful tone in her voice.
Understands that the nature of our atmospheric studies are very new and limited. We need to perform more tests. The results above Canterlot may not be the same in other parts of the world.
I guess.
Addie tried to sound hopeful, but Vinyl had been talking to her long enough to catch the uncertainty. Twilight rose over the table, her face determined.
Celestia's right. This was just after a half-dozen tests. We could be off. Way off. We've already contacted meteorology stations around the world to ask them to repeat our experiments. The ones we did over Canterlot may be egregiously abnormal. Abnormal as in way better than reality?
Addie grumbled.
That would just be my luck.
Luna tapped Vinyl's shoulder with a wing, and the two shared a long, calm look. Vinyl's heart collapsed into her stomach, which felt like it was imploding. Even so, she managed to nod to the princess. She turned to the radio.
Addie, you've gotta have hope.
Hope?
Addie laughed, a bitter sound.
I just found out that I'll never see grass again. Or sunlight, or...
The crying started.
Oh, God, why won't anyone just wake me the fuck up?
Twilight shrank back at the curse.
Hey, there's still a chance. That's what we're trying to...
Vinyl raised her hoof. The princesses remained silent as they all listened as Addie's crying grew more intense. Her breath coming in slow, long gasps, Vinyl closed her eyes and focused on a gray mane, a purple face, and an exasperated smile. It was such a calm, controlled expression. She did the best she could to channel that same level-headed focus. She could do this. I don't remember much about physics class, but I do remember we covered over atmosphere, and Jesus, that was very complex. Anywho, let's get on to our simply splendid donators. Top donators: Jessie Smith, Sussex30, BadassWaffle, Only One Thing, Ceru, Orion, and Caladis. Matchvic, JockeTF, Luciisu, Darkside, Rayden, Narwhals, Blackmoonheart, Pastel, Sky Sauce, and Rolan, Brother, Mortradam, Econ, Lyra, Runescythe, Will, Chris, Twinkie, Rysol, Shadow Moon, Luigi, Chancellor Crust, Big Smoke, Bobcat, Murder Princess, Jet, Little Mighty, and many more awesome people. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and live life to the fullest.